Hey, it's Dan here. Moving on from my basic compression tutorial, today we're talking about parallel compression, otherwise known as New York compression, due to its popularity with New York engineers. Parallel compression is a form of upward compression, and it is created by combining two versions of the same audio track together, where one is relatively dry or has a light amount of compression, and the other copy has relatively heavy compression applied to it. The drier original will contain a larger dynamic range than its copy, where the uppermost transient peaks are kept intact, but not having the track overly squashed by compression. Although these transient peaks contain a lot of energy and attack, the audio tends to lack body, fullness and warmth. They also limit the amount of headroom you have in a mix, and so when it comes time to master the track, it's these transients that limit your maximum output. You can of course slam these with a limiter, but this can be undesirable as when the limiter kicks in it also takes everything beneath the transient with it. And thus, you end up with a compromised mix, where the quieter parts are pushed down with the transient peaks to be even quieter. This is where the duplicate track comes in handy. This will usually have very heavy compression applied, which effectively cuts down the transients and everything beneath it for that moment, but brings up the audibility of the quieter stuff everywhere else in the track. The result is a fat sound that has little or no attack that is wetter sounding, due to the fact that we've brought up the noise floor by removing the peaks that were restricting our maximum volume output. We then add that sound to the original signal to give us the best of both worlds, the transient punchiness combined with the increased audibility of the quieter parts. Only by combining these two signals together do we get the dynamic snap of those transients with the enhanced body, character and fullness of the original sound, without destroying the natural dynamics that existed beforehand. Here's how it's done. In this example, I'm sending my entire mix to an auxiliary via a master fader which acts as a trim. I've then duplicated my aux track so I can then apply compression to it. And I've also applied some light, slow attack compression to the original auxiliary. Here's how it sounds when we punch it in and out.
1, 2, 3.
Notice how the compressor reacts to the snare and finger snaps quite aggressively. This enables us to raise the noise floor to get that fatter sound by squashing those transients. Parallel compression doesn't have to stop there. We can also apply this method to individual instruments. And of course, more than two layers can be added in to build upon the sound. Take a kick drum, for example. Just an ordinary kick drum that sounds okay, but perhaps you want more oomph, more punch. Here's one way of approaching it. We have here 3 copies of the same bass drum track. The first one is left as is. Let's listen to that. The second is the same again, but has some heavy compression applied to it, using a low threshold, fast attack, and makeup gain. Let's listen to that. We've really brought up the ringing tone of the drum and the drum room itself by using the lower threshold in combo with the makeup gain. The faster attack also means that the compressor cuts off the beginning of the note, so we aren't limited by the volume of the transient peaks, and consequently we're cutting them down. If we listen to those two together, we get a fat sound, but we might also want to add more of the attack back in. And so in the third track, I've emphasized the attack of the sound by EQing out the bass and boosting the highs. For the purpose of doing a fair assessment of the sound, I've matched the gain of both of these signals. Let's have a listen to that. And as you can hear, it's a lot warmer, it's a lot fatter sounding, and it's got the attack that we want so that it can cut through the mix. You can definitely apply this to most instruments, but in the case of the drum set, if you apply the principle to all your individual drums, you can build up an awesome sound without having to resort to sample triggering. You piece together your drum sound by layering it up, and then you can additionally use parallel compression on the drum master. I hope this helps you and your understanding of compression. As always, be creative, trust your instincts and your ears that you're on the right path. If it sounds good, it is good. If you have any questions, comments or ideas for new video tutorials, please email me at yamahadrums2009@hotmail.com, and please subscribe to remain informed of video updates. Until next time, happy mixing.